All right, hey folks. So this is now part 6 of the February Q&A, which is amazing. I'm so pleased with that. That's so good. So yeah, it shows there's a lot of questions out there. I'm going to put up another one of these in about 2 weeks' time for February. But anyway, let's finish off the questions for this. Getting right down to the bottom of the list. There we go. Right. Ayan says, one more question. Do hip adduction and abduction machines have any value? It's a good question. Because if you were to believe a lot of coaches put out there on social media, you'd think they're just essential. It's funny that no one did a lot of adduction and abduction back in, Tom Platz's day, and Tom had some pretty good quads and quad legs. So yeah, you can kind of tell my thoughts on that. I don't think they're necessary at all. The adductors get a lot of work when you're squatting, and you're squatting deep. But that's the proviso. You have to squat deep. And people don't like to do that. They like to squat shallow. But assuming you're squatting deep, you're leg pressing deep, you will hit all those muscles of the inner thigh. You'll hit the adductors quite heavily. Sumo deadlifts somewhat hit them as well. Squats tend to be better though. And with regard to sort of abductors, you're really looking at the muscles of the glutes. They abduct the hips. So abduct the legs, sorry. So yeah, I don't feel they're necessary. I think it's one of those industry exercises which tend to be overblown. I had a conversation with a client about this morning, and how people seem to place a lot of premium on exercise execution. And this is usually how I know people don't know what they're talking about. It's they place either far too much emphasis on barbells, or far too much emphasis on very weird exotic machines. And a lot of it pales in comparison to just getting stronger on an exercise and the actual sets and reps that you use. The muscle doesn't really understand where the stress comes from, whether it comes from a barbell, a dumbbell machine, whether you're doing a leg press or a hack squat or a pendulum squat. As long as you're using a full range of motion, it's all pretty much the same stuff. Like, shoot me down for saying that, but it's all pretty much the same stuff. So an abduction and adduction machine, it seems like a silly waste of time if you're squatting with a full range of motion and leg pressing with a full range of motion. It's not something that I think it needs to be done with the vast majority of people. There's probably a few people out there who maybe need specific work, like bodybuilder types. If you're 250, 300 pounds, you've gotten very strong already, and you need a little bit extra, sure. But at that advanced level, people do weird things like that. That's how it goes. But for the majority of people, if you need more inner thigh, you're probably better off working a variation of the squat and leg press, which works your inner thigh more. And that's probably going to involve just deeper leg press squatting movements. So yeah, I don't think they're necessary. I don't program them in with any of my clients at all. I think it's very much overblown. I would like somebody to explain to me a good reason why they would prefer to do at like an intermediate level, why they would prefer to do adductor machines rather than place a larger emphasis on squats and leg presses with a full range of motion. I'd like to know. Right. Lee Harris says, if you had to choose one training modality to split, use forever, what would it be? I mean, to be fair, Lee, I pretty much just do one. I always come back to it, which is the full body routine. I always come back to it. It's where I started my bodybuilding journey on back in 2006. Once I sort of 2006, 2007, once I kind of got injured from powerlifting, I went to bodybuilding. It was the Wizard book, that split basically. And I moved very quickly on to sort of intermediate and advanced versions of that split, where I was doing more and more volume, shorter rest periods. It's good. That's what I would do. I would literally do what's in my Wizard routine, potentially with more volume. Like right now, I'm training about 4 days a week, full body, one run, and then that is 2 full rest days per week. Usually Sunday and Wednesday are rest days for me. So midweek and then Sunday. I run on Saturday, and Monday, Tuesday, full body, Thursday, Friday, full body. Pretty high weekly volume. Around about 24 sets for legs, 24 for chest, 24 for back. I use very short rest periods, but that's how I like to train. That's what I would do. There you go, Lee. I kind of explained this, I think in your question it was, in one of the videos in this series about how I train, but that's how I would train, simply because I always consistently come back to that split, and it just does me well. 3 Days Grace says, what are your opinions on biohack channels like Leo and Longevity? I'm not trying to cause beef between both of you, genuinely want to know. I'm sure Leo doesn't know who I am and doesn't care, but I think some of his stuff is useful. I like what he has to say about fasting. He has some interesting stuff to say about fasting. I think that's pretty cool. I like his mannerisms. I like his way of explaining things. It's kind of nice. He explains things nice and clearly. He speaks very clearly. He seems to have a good rapport with his wife, although his wife isn't on his videos anymore, which is a shame. I preferred when there was two of them together because they seem to bounce off each other very well. So I thought that was good. I would like for him to go back to that style of informative talking. But as for his other things, some of them are questionable, in my opinion. But certainly, I think he's a guy with some decent information. Others which I'm just not anything close to being an expert on. So I think the biohack field is an interesting one. It's fraught with pros and cons. I don't know. You've got guys like Dave Asprey. He's kind of a biohacker, right? But I don't know. I think a lot of it boils down to staying lean, staying jacked. So a lot of times the best biohackers are just bodybuilders who stay lean and stay natural. So eventually maybe going on to TRT. So, I don't know how much of it is actually applicable. I think there's a lot of snake oil in that field, just because when men get to about 40 years old, they have this focus on health. I mean, you guys see in my videos, I'm always talking about health and, potassium and sodium and like vitamins and minerals and like taking care of your health and blah, blah, blah. And I'm actually planning on doing a health series fairly soon, because guys at our age, we're in that middle range of age. We're not young anymore. We're not really old. We're kind of midway. We're preparing for later on in life. We want to be around for a lot longer. We start to see our own mortality. Yeah. You don't see that when you're younger. When you're young, you're like, that's an old guy things, right? But when you're at this age, like 40-ish, 35-ish, 40-ish, you start to envision yourself 20 years down the line. Because 20 years ago, I was like your age. 20 years from now, I'm going to be 60. That's a big difference between your age and 60, right, Ian? So I'm in that mid spot now where I'm kind of like straddling the two. So I do think about me when I'm younger, but I also think about, well, what am I going to be like when I'm older? And I want to be in good shape. So you start to think about your own mortality a bit more, and you start to value health more than everything else. As a result, you then go onto the internet and you see all these people talking about all these health hacks. So of course you're drawn into it. It's a big business. There's a couple of guys out there who I think are completely full of, right? I won't name any names, but there's one guy who's written a book about TRT, and he's been on TRT for 6 months. I don't know much about TRT, but I know a little something about, con men, and well, there you go. So I think there's a lot of BS in that field, because you're dealing with sometimes desperate people. Right, Jason says, your favorite stress management relaxation strategy. Should have talked about this one at the end. I mean, this is going to sound really, really corny and really dull, but I like going for a good dinner. I like restaurants. I like going to a nice restaurant. I like eating good food. I like getting a good night's sleep. I like spending time with my cat. On top of all the basics, I like just feeling good on a day-to-day basis. When I feel good, when I physically feel good, when I'm eating right, when I'm sleeping well, then that's usually when I'm in a good state of mind. I feel love, I feel loved, and I feel like I want to express love. So that helps. Also sex. Right. Next question, Marcel. How much can you trust your own hunger, assuming you're eating straight, clean foods and veggies? I hate counting calories, and I want to cut without obsessing about calories or develop an eating disorder. Is there a strategy for a cut without counting, or is it a must? Yeah, of course. With pretty much all of my clients, except for the contest prep clients, I don't have them counting calories. I don't. Part of my, I have a private video series, which I send to my clients as a sort of education pathway when they first sign up with me. And we go through it week by week. So we spend, the first 2 months going through these videos, which are all about eating all about how to eat, without counting calories, all about stress management, fatigue, sleep, hydration. I have a bunch of sort of highly educational materials for my clients, which I use to educate them on my style of eating. And part of that is how to eat without counting calories. I don't feel counting calories is a good long-term strategy. I think it's a decent short-term strategy, sure. If you have a goal, sure. I think some form of accountability is useful. Okay, some form of monitoring is useful. There doesn't have to be calorie counting though. I think you need to have a style of eating. So to that end, some quick tips. Yeah. Firstly, eat protein at every meal. Eat a big fist-sized portion of protein at every meal. Yeah. It could be anything, whatever, and it could be multiple sources of protein. Second thing is eat a lot of vegetables at every meal. Yeah, a lot of vegetables. Now, just those two alone, if you can do that, you're going to go a long way towards curtailing your overall caloric intake. Third one you could say is cut out your snacks. Cut the crap. Like, no snacks are ever that healthy. Let's face it. They're always high calorie affairs, right? So cut out the snacks altogether. Nothing ever good ever comes from snacks. Cut out this. And yeah, you could say, okay, Faz, I can count my calories. Snacks are fine. Just come on, right? You can count your calories, but it's not about fitting the calories in. It's about eating the types of foods which are going to not make you hungry. So cut out snacks, have protein at every meal, have a lot of veg for every meal. If you can just do that, you'll go a long way towards fixing whatever issues you have. That's how I've maintained my weight for the last 4 years. So I don't count calories at any time at all. If I was ever to do a contest prep again, I maybe would count my calories, but I wouldn't start with it. I would start with just a reasonable approach like I'm doing now and just tighten up a little bit. And Bulbo adds to that, more movement like walking. He's very right. Yeah. Get your steps in. That helps. But yeah, I mean, self-regulation is important. Right. We're going to end with this one from Harsh Panwar. Harsh says, I feel lonely at times because most of my friends are not as close and I can't share my intimate stuff with them. I don't have a best friend. I also feel an emptiness within myself because I don't have a girlfriend or significant other. What should I do? Blah, 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 blah. I do focus on improving my personality and working towards my goals, which I think takes away from time I could go towards socializing. Right. I've got some interesting insights for you on this, Harsh. Right. You might feel lonely. You might feel insecure. Yeah. Because, you maybe feel you can't make friends. Maybe you're not very outgoing because you're nervous. Maybe you don't want to approach your girlfriend because you're nervous, Maybe you can't connect with people because you're nervous, you're anxious, you feel like you're not good enough, Here's some harsh, truths about life. Everyone's nervous. Everyone's anxious. Everyone's insecure. Yeah, everyone. No matter that really hot girl you see, right, at the store and you want to speak to her. She's nervous. She's anxious. She's anxious because she'll feel she's as beautiful as everyone else thinks she is. And she doesn't really believe what people say. That handsome boy who seems really outgoing and he's always cracking jokes and he always knows what to say. He's got a great smile and great hair. That guy's nervous. He's anxious. He's insecure because his parents don't love him like he feels they should. Yeah. Your best friend who doesn't speak to you anymore, he's insecure. Okay. He doesn't like you. He thinks you started training, you started working out, you're better than him. You lift more than him, you look better than him, you've got more muscle than him. He looks at you, he gets insecure. Everyone is insecure. Everyone. Even at my age, everyone's insecure. I'll tell you a funny story. So I did my bodybuilding show in 2018, right? A few years back now. And I thought I looked terrible right up until like the day of the competition. So the last 2 weeks before the competition, I was shredded, right? The last 2 weeks before the competition, I was walking around, just sulking around because I swore I just felt fat. I felt fat, right? And I was sulking around just thinking, oh man, I feel fat. And no one was speaking to me, right? Because I thought no one was speaking to me because, well, obviously, why would they? Faz looks fat. He's got a show next week. What's he going to do? Yeah. But the reality was, it wasn't anything to do with that at all. The reality was, they just wanted to leave me alone because, well, I was busy, I was doing stuff, I was clearly tired, so they left me alone. All right. Now, as it got to the day of the competition, so I went to the competition, and went to the competition, got my spray tan done, which was the day before for the competition. And I walked in, I didn't know anyone. I had to go drive to the city across the way, an hour away. And I went there, you take off all your clothes, right? You get down to just your pants, you take them off as well. And they're spraying you down, right, with this tan. And I was really insecure because I'm stood there, no one knows me, no one's talking to me, right, because they don't know me. But I think they're not talking to me because they think I look like shit, right? They look fat. Faz looks fat. Well, if they don't know who I am, they don't even know my name. It's like, oh, who's this guy? You just come in off the street, looks fat, getting a tan, right? Clearly, I didn't know the tanning girls either, so I thought, yeah, they probably think I'm fat too. And then it came to the day of the show. Day of the show, I was warming up backstage. Again, didn't know anyone, so no one spoke to me, right? And I didn't speak to them because I was all nervous. I thought I was fat, didn't deserve to be there. Get up on stage, and apart from the guy who eventually won and narrowly beat me, I demolished everyone. So I thought I came fourth place. They gave me the trophy, right? They gave me the medallion. They gave me my certificate, which said second place, right? I thought I read it as fourth place. I literally read it as fourth place. It was only when they called my name out for the second place spot to give me my, the trophy and stuff that I realized, holy crap, I came second place. Then I went back behind stage and my friends were like, hey, you should have won that. Like, that was really close, I was like, wow. So there's this picture of me that I've got where I've got my trophy in my hand. I'm like, second place and an invite to the nationals. So I couldn't believe it. I was gobsmacked. But that's me, like the leanest I've ever been, absolutely shredded out my skull, death face, pipeline veins, all that kind of stuff, and just insecure. Everyone's insecure. The guys who were lifting, the guys who were I was competing against, they probably didn't talk to me because they thought, holy shit, this guy is shredded and he's massive. How are we going to beat him? And we don't know who he is. So they didn't say anything to me. Everyone's insecure. Everyone is. It's like some kind of cruel joke that we all look around. Everyone just looks aloof, right? They look like they don't want to speak to us. They look like they're thinking they're better than us, but they're not. They're all insecure. There comes less insecurity the older you are, and it's not because you're like wise when you're older. It's just because you accept it. Like, there's more acceptance. Like, I have a level of acceptance now with who I am. I accept who I am, my flaws, my physique, my personality. I accept who I am. I try and strive for more, of course, but I do accept who I am. But everyone's secure. So if you're letting that stop you, make friends, do things, go get a girlfriend, ask that chick out, for a date, talk to these guys at the gym, you're never going to progress anywhere because everyone's always insecure. And the last 2 years, 2 years, haven't really done anything to help that because everyone's been indoors, right? Because of the big P, Everyone's been indoors. So we've had less and less time to socialize, less and less time to interact. But most of my adult life was spent before the big P. And I can tell you, like, just the best way to solve that insecurity is to get out there and speak to people. Nowadays, if I speak to someone at the gym, and so every now and again I'll do that, and depends where you're at. People will either say something back or just think you're crazy. But a lot of times, if I'm out, I might make a joke with someone. I don't know. I'm a bit dorky like that. If I'm at the supermarket, I might make a joke to someone, turn around to someone and make a joke. I don't know. I don't care. But sometimes they look at me like I've got 3 heads. Like, what the hell? Hope this guy doesn't stab me. It's like, come on. But you're not going to get over your insecurity and your anxiety about meeting new people if you shield yourself away from everyone. And you're talking about like working on your physique and personality, like improving your personality. Like, you can only do that with practice. The only way to improve your physique and your personality and your ability to interact with people and your anxiety and all that kind of stuff is to go out into the big bag world and speak to people, talk to people. I say this a lot. I mean, when I was younger, when I was first getting into the gym, I would ask the big guys for advice all the time. And it didn't matter that I was 18 and they were 35, 40, 50 years old. It didn't matter. I would go up and speak to them. Nowadays, people don't do that. I very rarely get a young guy or girl who goes up to me in the gym just to ask me a question, unless they know who I am, And oftentimes they won't ask me a question at the gym. They'll get back home and DM me on Instagram. Like, just speak to me, dude, but people are just too intimidated. And not because of me, I'm not an intimidating person, but they're just intimidated by social interaction. Everyone's like that. Everyone, old and young, you know, beautiful, handsome, pretty, whatever. Everyone's like that. You got to just try and move away from that. And the only way you're going to do that is via practice. So practice talking to people, ask people questions, make a few jokes. Who cares? You know? I get what you're saying, but don't use this whole I'm an introvert, I'm focusing on my personality. Don't use that as an excuse not to actually go out and do the things that you need to do for your own personal development. Yeah. You're not going to make a best friend or find a girlfriend by hiding away at home. Go and socialize. As fast as orders. Right, guys, I'm going to call it there. Hopefully you found that useful. I have an interesting series planned to do with health, which I will deliver across the course of this week. So hope you all have a great day. Go out, smile at the next person you meet in the street. Say hello. By the way, if they think you're crazy and tell you to F off, it's not my fault. Right. Okay, folks, I'll call it there. If you would like to support the channel, please go ahead and like the video. If you would like to support the channel even more, then go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I'll speak to you next time.